So a question I frequently get from divorcing homeowners is, I really would like to do a buyout, but I'm not sure that I can qualify for it. So what options do I have? So Josh, earlier we kind of talked about whether you wanted to list the home or whether you wanted to try and do a buyout. So did you have some specific questions about that?
Yeah, I would like to do a buyout. I'm just not sure if I can afford to buy out my spouse's equity.
Okay, well, let's kind of talk about what your options are. So I know some people are confused. They think that they can just take on the mortgage and just transfer the ownership from one spouse to another, and then they just keep on making those mortgage payments. Unfortunately, if you're both on the mortgage like you told me you were, you have to be able to remove your spouse from the mortgage. And the only way to do that is with what's called an equity buyout. So let's just use the example, Jess. We don't know what your exact numbers are for your house, but let's just say the house is worth $500,000 and your current mortgage balance is $400,000. So that means you have $100,000 in equity. So that means you get $50,000 if we're dividing it 50-50, which normally is what happens, and your spouse is going to get $50,000. So when you do the equity buyout, you have to get a mortgage of $450,000. So the current mortgage balance plus the $50,000 that you're going to have to take out to pay off your spouse. So I ran the quick numbers, and let's say currently your mortgage, like I said, was $400,000. So at $400,000, most people that have been in their home for a few years, they have a pretty low interest rate. So the monthly payment on a $400,000 loan, let's say at 3% interest, would be about $1,686 a month. So pretty reasonable.
Right.
But now, because of the interest rates, so now you're going to have a $400,000 plus 50, so a $450,000 loan. I know the interest rates are a little bit higher right now, but let's just say it's 6.5%. So that means your new mortgage payment is going to be $2,844.
Oh wow, so $1,000 more.
That is a lot of money. So you can see getting a new loan can be a very expensive proposition. And because of the values of homes that have gone up so much in the last couple of years, a lot of people do have a lot of equity. So splitting that equity, having to get a mortgage, and having to pay off the spouse is a very expensive option. So what can you do? Well, one of the first things that I recommend that my clients do is reach out to your lender and see. There's some mortgages that are what we call assumable. So that might be an option. You would still have to qualify for the loan, but at least that you would be able to assume the payments at that low interest rate. But somehow you still have to come up with the equity to be able to pay off your spouse. So I always recommend that you reach out to what we call a certified divorce lending professional. And they can walk through all the different options with you to see if assuming the loan is an option, or if doing an equity buyout is something that even works for you.
Okay.
So another option, Josh, doesn't apply to everybody, but it could be is maybe, if you can assume it, or even if you can't, maybe you could get a loan from a family member, and that might be able to help you offset the payments to your spouse. Like I said, it doesn't happen too often. Sometimes if it's a family member, they can give you, a loan for a short period of time until such time as maybe you can qualify for something on your own.
Okay, question for you. When you're talking about the equity buyout, if I need to pay her $50,000 to buy her out, can I just pay her $50,000 in cash and keep my low interest rate?
Well, you can, but only, remember, her name is on the loan as well. So the only way to get her name off the current mortgage is for you to either assume the loan. So basically if it's assumable, and if it's not, you have to do some sort of a refinance.
Okay.
And you can't necessarily refinance at the same interest rate you're at. It's going to be at the current interest rate.
Right.
So even if it was only $400,000, your payments are still going to be a lot higher because the interest rate has changed so much since you got your previous loan.
Okay.
So unfortunately, in a lot of these situations, the only option for people is to end up selling their home and splitting the equity 50-50. Or, if there's some other equalization payments that are taken into consideration. So again, if an equity buyout is something that you want to consider, I can give you the names, and feel free to reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to share this information with all of you as well, is the names of some certified divorce lending professionals. And they have a lot of different ways that they can look at things that maybe a typical lender might not understand, especially when there's a divorce involved. So there's a couple different things that you can do when there is a divorce involved. So I can give you that contact information.
Okay.
But again, I think the most important thing is to figure out where you're at and figure out what your options are early in the process, so you just don't spend a lot of time, money, and mental energy going down a path only to find out it's not a viable option for you.
Okay.
Thanks again for joining us today to learn a little bit more about equity buyouts and if it's an option for you. Now, I do release new videos every week, so if you found this helpful, go ahead and hit that like button. That way other people can find it. And if you hit subscribe, you'll actually get notified when I post another video. And one more thing, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. This question came from another divorcing homeowner, and I want to be able to answer all your questions. And if you've got the question, someone else probably does too. So I can do a video and answer everybody's question.